exploit that can be loaded on the PS5 using the Lua core exploit with Star Wars Racer Revenge to be able to jailbreak higher firmwares up to 12.0. So 10.20 to 12.0 will soon be jailbreakable with this. And this is thanks to Chameleon, CGYCNQ and others for giving me access to preview this early. And beyond that, we've also seen the release from Gejinet of the project BD-un-JB, which of course is a unpatcher for the Blu-ray jailbreak, so that once you jailbreak your console with Star Wars Racer Revenge, you will then be able to unpatch the Blu-ray jailbreak so that you can then use a Blu-ray disc to jailbreak your console as well. And we'll probably see, Blu-ray unpatching services pop up because there aren't going to be that many people who have access to the Star Wars game, but people who do have access to the Star Wars game will be able to unpatch the Blu-ray jailbreak for other people so that they can jailbreak using a Blu-ray disc. So I'm going to cover that here in this video as well, starting with the preview of the Star Wars Racer Revenge exploit. So I'm going to go ahead and load this up. You can see I'm not jailbroken at the moment, so we don't have debug settings. And of course, my game dumps cannot be loaded, like Dead Space there, cannot start app. So I'm going to go ahead and load up the Star Wars game, the physical disc, on my console. I have the save file already set up for this. So we go ahead and load this up. I've already done a video, of course, showing you how to get the save file installed to get the userland portion of the exploit installed, the Lua core exploit. So I'll leave a link to that video down in the description. But we're going to go ahead and load up the game. Wait until we get the option to press start. And then, of course, we head down to Options, and then Hall of Fame, which is the option to actually load the save file containing the exploit. So we select that, and that will start loading the Lua exploit that we're all familiar with. Except this version is version 2.1D, a slightly modified version there. I am running this on 10.01, of course, full disclosure. I haven't updated to 12.0, even though this will work all the way up to firmware 12.0 for the kernel exploit to jailbreak the PS5. But of course, we don't have KStuff support yet for firmwares higher than 10.01. So even though you can jailbreak up to 12.0 technically, we still need to wait for KStuff to get ported before you will get the full functionality of the jailbreak. Being able to run things like your PS4 and PS5 game dumps will not be possible until KStuff is ported. And it looks like EchoStretch is wasting no time in porting KStuff over to the higher firmwares, because as I was recording this video, I noticed that EchoStretch has in fact posted a screenshot showing that he was able to successfully port it to 10.20. So things are definitely moving very quickly. So now that I have the exploits loaded, you can see it's listening on the PS5's IP address on port 9026. So if I switch over to my computer, I can open up a payload injector like netcat GUI, enter that IP address into the host box and the port number 9026. And then I have the Lua script here that actually runs the kernel exploit. So I can send that over by dragging that in and clicking inject payload. And that will, of course, send it over to the PS5. There we go, executing payload. And what you should see after a little while, it usually doesn't take too long. But of course, it's running the exploit here in the background. And if it is successful, we will see right there, serving elf loader on the PS5's IP address on port 9021. So that is the full elf loader now initialized, which means we can now load payloads. So for instance, if I just go ahead and exit out now of the Star Wars game, we should now be able to send payloads on port 9021. So of course, if I switch back over to the computer again, because I'm on a 10.01 system, I can send payloads over like Void Shell, and of course change the port number to 9021. So I can send a payload here like Void Shell. If I send that over to the console, you can see that loads. Void Shell I've got configured to load KStuff Lite. So that loads KStuff for me. And now we have the console fully jailbroken and I can load my game dumps. So I am able to now jailbreak my console from scratch here using the Star Wars Racer Revenge game with the Lua core exploit. Now, of course, again, just to reiterate, firmwares 10.20 to 12.0 do not have KStuff support yet. EchoStretch is working on porting it, but that's always the last step here, is to get KStuff ported to the higher firmwares. And then once KStuff gets ported on 10.20 to 12.0, you'll also be able to load it using the Star Wars Racer Revenge game up to firmware 12.0 and load your PS4 fake packages and your game dumps, homebrew applications and everything else. But some payloads have already been ported up to firmware 12.0, like the FTP server payload. Now, another thing that we can do now that we have the console jailbroken, you'll also see that the debug settings are now enabled as well. So now that we have the jailbreak running, we can load the Blu-ray Unpatcher to unpatch the Blu-ray exploit. So all we got to do here is switch back over to my computer again. I can take the BDJ unpatch file from the Blu-ray release and drag that in, and we'll go ahead and send that again on port 9021. So we will inject payload, and of course that sends that over, patched BDJ stack.jar. So the payload that we just loaded here basically automates the process of replacing the BDJ stack file with the one that is vulnerable to the Blu-ray exploit, re-enabling the Blu-ray exploit on your higher firmware. So that's how it works. It also makes a backup of the original BDJ stack file from your console, so you can always restore it. Mainly if anything goes wrong with the patching process, you have a backup, I guess, that you can restore if it breaks the Blu-ray player for whatever reason, but that is pretty unlikely. So it should have now patched the Blu-ray exploit to work now on my console. The Blu-ray exploit was originally patched in, I think, 8.0, so it should not work on my 10.01 system. So we'll see if it works here. Once you've loaded this payload to unpatch the Blu-ray exploit, you can then download the ISO file and burn that onto a blank Blu-ray disc using software like Image Burn. You just open up Image Burn, select the option to write image file to disk, drag the ISO file into Image Burn, or click the browse button to browse for the file manually, and then enter a blank or rewritable Blu-ray disc into your Blu-ray burner, and then you can click the button to write the image file to the disc, and that will go ahead and get the disc burned. Once that's done, we can then insert that disc into our console. Okay, here we go. So we've got BD Un Jailbreak 1.0. We can go ahead and load this up. And if this loads successfully, then it has unpatched the Blu-ray exploit. And yep, there we go. Jar loader is listening on port 9025, so we can send jar payloads. So this ISO is just to test to make sure that the exploit has been unpatched, and in this case it has. If it was patched, it would just be a black screen. It would not actually load any further, but we are getting the exploit succeeded. But it does say here, exploit success, sandbox escape achieved, and the jar loader is listening on 9025. So there we go. That is us got everything up and running. So anyway, just a quick video there to showcase the developments that are ongoing in getting the kernel exploit working with the Star Wars Racer Revenge game. It is already working at this point. Not only that, but they have the elf loader working, so you can load payloads. The only thing we're really missing is K-Stuff, and obviously just some ease of use improvements that will likely get added in the final release, like the auto close, so that once the jailbreak is loaded, the Star Wars Racer Revenge game will automatically close itself back to the home screen, and maybe some kind of auto loader, so it'll automatically load something like K-Stuff, Void Shell, or ETA Hen, whatever payload you add to the data folder or the root of a USB drive, or something similar to the autoloader with the autoload.txt file that's available in the YouTube jailbreak and Lua loader exploits already. So they may be waiting for K-Stuff to get fully supported before releasing this, rather than having some kind of fragmented release where only parts of the exploits are released at different times until we have the full picture, or they might just wait until everything is available, including K-Stuff, up to 12.0 and then release it. So we'll have to see what happens there, but that's just a sneak peek at the current progress. We have the jailbreak working now. It can run the kernel exploit, and it can also load the elf loader, so we can load payloads on firmwares 10.20 to 12.0. And we'll just have to wait for the full release whenever that comes. And in the meantime, you can unpatch the Blu-ray exploit on your console if you're on a firmware above 7.61 by simply running the BDJ unpatch payload from the BD Un Jailbreak project to get the Blu-ray drive exploit working on your console as well. So hope you guys enjoyed this one or found the information useful. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe.